This is a debate on Newstalk Radio, recorded on Monday the 3rd of September 2018, about a forthcoming visit to Ireland by President Donald Trump. It's between Eamon Ryan, the colourless leader of Ireland's Green Party, and George Hook, a colourful radio personality. The moderator is Ivan Yates.
It was announced over the weekend that President Donald Trump is to visit Ireland. Armistice Day, he's going to be in Paris on the 11th of November, and I don't think it's been kind of finally clarified whether he's coming en route, but more likely on Monday the 12th. He will come here, a visit to Doonbeg, and he's insisting that it's a full state visit. And it strikes me, in terms of Leo, that if we feel we've a guaranteed compelling right of passage every March 17 to go to the White House, the least we can do is give him a state visit in terms of reciprocating that hospitality. But it has provoked howls of protest. Say no to the dope. Say nope to the dope. So says the Facebook page of the Green Party's protest against Donald Trump's visit. It will take place, they're organising it in College Green in Dublin on Saturday the 10th of November. On Saturday, the leader of the Green Party, Eamon Ryan TD, said he would be arranging the protest, but our own George Hook did what he often does. He stuck his oar in and said he'll stand next to Eamon and wave a star-spangled banner in support of President Trump's visit. Gentlemen, that is the aforesaid Eamon Ryan and George Hook, join me in studio. Eamon, set out your case. I mean, we've had the Pope visit, we've had the Queen visit, we've had Obama visit, we've had lots of people, we've even had Chinese leaders who've had human rights issues, and, you know, it's part of a sovereign state that we have diplomatic visits. Why should this be treated any differently? Is it not disrespectful?
It should be treated differently because Donald Trump is totally outside the norm. And just in terms of international relations, forgets what's happening in the States. But the decision to pull out of the Paris Climate Agreement, which 200 countries had entered into, and where they are the biggest polluter, and this threatens us all, this threatens the future of our people, everyone around the planet. I think for that reason alone, we have the right and the duty to go out and protest. Similarly, in terms of he's looking at the moment, he's engaging in trade wars right across the world, including with our own European Union. He's looking to break down the international order that has brought relative peace on the broader scale over the last 50 years. Since going back to Truman in terms of introducing a new order after the Second World War, he's tearing that apart. And I think that also is a second reason why we should protest. Thirdly, internationally, he's increasing their military budget by about 100 billion a year. And at the same time, he's cutting their aid budget. He's cutting money from the likes of the Palestinian communities in Gaza by 200 million a year, and has moved their embassy into Jerusalem in what is a provocative mechanism that will not bring peace to the world, in my mind. Fourthly, and you could keep going, his treatment of refugees on his own borders, the way that families have been pulled apart, children separated from their parents, because of a law introduced by his own lawyers saying that you're automatically guilty of a crime once you cross the border, is an example, again, where I think we need to stand up for certain values internationally. We need to stand up for certain rights. And he is the antithesis of all that. And I think for that reason, it's important that we protest.
And just to be clear, are you not only saying that he's not welcome, are you going as far as Richard Boyd Barton saying the visit should be cancelled?
I think certainly we have choices in how we do it. I think Enda Kenny made a mistake in offering the invitation in the first place. Leo Varadkar said that when he was minister. He changed his mind when he became Taoiseach. But you have choice. George Bush visited the country in 2004. He didn't have a full state visit. He just went to Clare and didn't have the visit to Ars Nuach Tyrone. Certainly we should not be extending what we've extended to US presidents in the past when they were invited to speak in this instance. So I think we have various choices, but first choice we have is, do we want to turn up in the day to protest? And I think most Irish people will. I think there will be huge numbers because it's a chance for us, in a way that's not disrespectful to America. Their first amendment of their constitution was the right to assemble and the right to protest. They know protest in a country. It's part of the great thing about America. I think we have to and should take the opportunity. I think Irish people will take the opportunity to protest the policies he has introduced. That's right. And if we miss that opportunity, I think it would be a historic mistake.
George Hook, you don't agree?
I didn't say I don't agree. I think Eamon Ryan has made a fantastic exposition of his case. The reason I am welcoming Donald Trump to this country is the people who oppose it. The people who oppose it give every reasonable person the understanding they should support Trump. Ragtag and bobtail are going to turn up in opposition. The Green Party who led us down to near bankruptcy in government. I'm driving around in a diesel car which Eamon Ryan told me I should buy, and now he's telling me I shouldn't buy it, I should buy an electric car because he gave me false information about diesel. He's absolutely right that we should stand up for things that are important. I agree. So let's take the border issue that he raises, particularly on the Mexican border. He's absolutely right. The only question I don't understand about Eamon Ryan is, what does he not understand about the word illegal? I mean, does Eamon Ryan consider that illegal? Now, when Mrs. Mop goes into the Mountjoy for some case or other, does she bring her kids with her? Are Mrs. Mop's kids in Mountjoy in cell 42 as well? So it's a fundamental of jailing that you have separation. Let's take climate change, for which he is massively opposed and doesn't agree with them, pulled out of the Paris Accord. Let's look at our record. Our record. Enda Kenny is on the record, and his government have never ever refuted it. Climate change is not a priority for this government. That's the Fine Gael position on climate change. Is Boyd Barrett, Murphy, Howland, and Ryan and the rest of them, are they all standing outside Dáil with placards against Fine Gael's attitude to climate change? Let's take racism. He's supposed to be a racist. He's 5,000 miles away. 500 miles from here is one of the greatest anti-Semites in the history of the British Parliament, Jeremy Corbyn, and there isn't a peep about from the liberal lefties. Here is a man who laid a wreath on the Black September group who massacred the Israeli athletes in Munich, and the loopy left haven't said a word about it, and the loopy left-wing media hasn't said a word about it, and he is an anti-Semite to his very bone. Let's take the question of refugees. It's appalling. I couldn't agree more with Eamon Ryan. It's appalling, the question of refugees. So what's our record? Hold on now, don't be raising your hand at me. You gave Ryan full time to talk. Give me full-time talk. We said we'll take in 4,000 refugees. How many have we taken in? I don't think we've got to four figures yet. 700 starving people are in a boat in the middle of the Mediterranean. Nobody will take them. They're going to die. They're going to starve. They're going to drown. Ah, yeah. Ireland immediately come in to fill the breach. We'll take 20, says Ireland. So the first thing Eamon Ryan should do is put our house in order as a country. We are hypocritical about this visit, and this is the greatest assembly. This objection is the greatest assembly of hypocrites since the Pharisees were drummed out of the temple by Jesus Christ. Now I'm finished. Off you go.
No, I just want you to clarify one point, because you made a lot of points there. Do I take it that you generally support Trump, or you respect the US sufficiently that he's their elected leader, that we owe him the respect that office deserves? Or are you saying, no, I'll actually be waving the Star Spangled Banner to support Trump?
Well, first of all, Trump, at this moment in time, the number of people who support Trump is roughly the same as supported Obama, about 45%, give or take. That's more than support Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil, and certainly more than support the Green Party as a percentage. Secondly, the US economy is in fine fettle. That's what he was elected for. He wasn't elected to help Europe's economy or Ireland's economy. He was elected to help the American economy. He's doing that. Black unemployment is at its lowest level in history. He's doing a good job for America. The reason he's got support is they don't want tens of thousands of people flooding across their borders to have a system. Apply and join the queue.
So the point is, Eamon, you're a crowd of hypocrites and crow-thumpers, and you're not prepared to exercise your same moral indignation against Jeremy Corbyn and many others.
It's interesting. The gospel this weekend was from that exact part of the gospel where the scribes and the Pharisees are saying, look at them, they're not washing their hands properly, they're defiled. And it's true, we have to be really careful in admitting some of our own failings on climate, in direct provision, in terms of how we deal with refugees, in Europe as well as in Ireland. So you're absolutely right on that. And I think we need to go further, because one of the reasons why Trump has succeeded is he's depicted everyone on the other side as being hypocritical like that. So we have to be careful. He loves conflict, he loves division, he loves protest, which actually adds to his camp by people saying, well, those people on the other side are calling us, start talking us down. So we have to be careful how we do it. And I think we need to do it in a particularly Irish way. We need to make it large, the way Daniel O'Connell used mass rallies. We need to make it peaceful and humorous and not to be superior hooder than that.
Eamon,
say at the same time, as much as we accept our weaknesses and our failings, there is actually a fundamental difference with what this government in the US is doing at the present time. I have never in my life, and I don't think you have, can you cite an American president previously who spoke in a way which encouraged such division and dissent within his own country and internationally?
I can.
Who?
Obama.
He did
every case in American jurisprudence in which a black man was opposed by a white man put in criminal law, Obama took aside the black man. From the president, it was extraordinary to interfere with jurisprudence. That's only the last one. Extraordinary. You then look at Reagan and the Contras. You look at the illegal bombing of Cambodia by Nixon. You can just go through it as a yard as long as your arm and find a situation. I want to ask you one very important question, Eamon. Ivan would probably have been in the van in screaming when Trump came up first with fake news. Mm-hmm. What do we read today in the newspaper? We're reading on newspaper today that the Taoiseach was proposing fake news in order to support his bid for the Taoiseachship. Before that, as Taoiseach, he set up an organisation for more fake news on social media, which without, luckily for us, the interference of the Comptroller and Auditor General would have passed, and democracy would have been the poorer by this Fine Gael party, this government led by this Taoiseach, and all the loopy left sit there demurely in their funny T-shirts and funny shirts.
I'm going to give you the last word, Eamon. Just to be clear, you are going to have a counter-protest in College Green with a Star-Spangled Banner. Just tell us about that.
No, like I actually assumed that Eamon was going to be, I must confess, I assumed Eamon, because last time we talked, he was going to be standing on tarmac at Shannon Airport, right? And I thought I'd stand on the tarmac with him. Because
so what are your plans?
Well, I don't know what my plans are now, because Eamon's not changed the goalpost, but he's explained to me.
Do you have a flag to wave?
Absolutely.
You're ready to go.
From that, like all the Irish, I've tons of relatives over there. But the point is, I didn't realise, because it just hasn't been playing, this has only all happened since Saturday. Eamon's now talking about hundreds of thousands of people thronging College Green to protest against it. My poor old Star-Spangled Banner and my, hash fake news will probably run. That's different.
Those numbers. It's true what you say, George, that what was revealed today, that Fine Gael or Leo's campaign was using the exact same online fake news tactics that Trump had used. But that's all the more reason why we go out and protest. And I'll tell you why. People are fearful at the moment. It's a changing time in the world and it's uncertain. And they look at what's happening online and media and they're fearful. They look at what's happening in terms of the way refugees issues been treated and they're fearful. They look at what's happening in climate and they're fearful. The one thing we can do is we can actually take a stand. And I think if we don't do that, if we will look back in 5 and 10 years later with regret. I think and believe that the Irish people will come out in their tens of thousands, and it will be peaceful and it will be humorous and it will not be holier than thou. It will be just raising the obvious point that we stand by certain values of truth, honesty and peace.
You should have people in College Green marching that democracy is threatened by the current government that is in power.
Right.
That's what you should be doing. Put our own house in order
ding.
And then lecture our oldest friend in the world.
Yeah, even in boxing things, they have the thing where they ring a bell and they take time out. My thanks to Eamon Ryan, leader of the Green Party, and George Hook, Newstalk presenter.